Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Afternoon Tea. And we're already at our fourth episode. Thank you for sticking around.
Hard to believe, but this is awesome.
And and while Sean and I have had a great ride so far, we're really glad that you're with us because uh, we're all growing together. Today, we want to talk about self care. Self care, where does it get selfish? Is it selfish? And we're dealing with parent guilt and putting our child first. Our child is first even in our sleep, even when we're deathly sick. Our kid comes first. So, so what is self care, and how should we utilize that? And I know most of you agree with the fact that it's important, and you do things to take care of yourself, all of that. But in those moments, it sabotages us somehow. We feel like we're doing this for ourselves. Um, or sometimes we can't tease those sensations apart in the specific moment. But if someone draws our attention or we have time to reflect on ourselves, we know that things shift. So we just want to have a little conversation of, I want us to talk about what I do to take care of myself when there is no trouble, just usual. And then maybe you want to share what you do, and then we can talk a little bit about how that translates in the moment when there is trouble.
Sounds great.
Okay. So for me, I feel like I like being alone for certain moments, certain times, and absolutely alone a few times a year, but not all the time. But it's part of that self care. And it's not like I'm rejecting all my loved ones. It's just something that for me to be there with them without me uh, drawing energy out of everybody else to keep myself going. Uh, I think I need that. But then on a daily basis, I realize I need like a routine. So I have my yoga routine. I like to take walks, and they're kind of placed within certain times in the day. So it doesn't conflict with all the things that I need to do in the day, or be with other people, or get my work done, or make my meals. I'm not into like cooking as my relaxation. Some people like that. So for me, it's a job to get done. I do like to eat healthy. I like to cook because of that, but it's not my space of relaxation. So it's a thing that so it doesn't count as my routine. And then I like to meditate, and I try to keep those times in a way that it is in conflict with my routine, but it gives me a sustainable way to come back to myself because it's a routine. Like things have gone all right, things are not going great emotionally or physically. There's things that need to be taken care of in the world materially, but the routine brings me back to like some sense of steadiness so I can stay with myself. Those are some of my self care. We could talk more if you think of something to ask me, but
Yeah, no
what do
problem.
you do?
No, I love that. I think definitely finding time by yourself is truly important. You need to find the time to be by yourself, to sit with yourself, to sit with your thoughts. In the past, I have had issues with that, and I've kind of seek answers outside of myself instead of sitting inside myself and just okay. We don't need to reach out to anyone. We're just going to take a little time to ourselves, and we reflect on it. And how do I feel about it? What's my gut feeling about it? How do I want to deal with it? And I take a lot of time. I go out. I like to be in nature. I like to
Mm,
be by myself. I enjoy my mornings. My morning, right now it's just my daughter and I. So she's my main concern. So other than that, my morning routine is my morning routine. My night routine is my night routine. And at the moment, I'm really enjoying that time to myself. But there definitely is give and take. I do have some structure, but then I also have flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like I go to the gym, like 3 on, 1 off type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's not necessarily in the morning or afternoon. It's based upon my day and my daughter's day. When
Mm-hmm.
is she in school? Is she working that night? Is she going to need the car? I have to
Mm-hmm.
factor all these things into account. And then, of course, on top of it, not be upset with myself if I don't get to the gym, and maybe instead
Yeah.
it's taking a walk. The other thing I think self care is too is not being so regimented that when something goes wrong, you get upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that a lot. I used to walk in the gym. If I couldn't use the right equipment for that day's exercise, it would bother me. It's like, ah, but now it's like, no, no, we're going to go with the flow. We're going to do what we can. It's not a big deal. And we're going to leave. But I think, you know, you and I were just talking about this before we started recording. It's life balance in general, with all of the people in ourselves, and it's balance within ourselves as well. But self care to me has really been important to me for the past few years. I didn't really realize because I was always looking outside myself.
Mm-hmm.
And this last year has really been the most I've actually looked inward and just really focused on myself and my daughter.
And even like you said about going to the gym, even if it's, I think you still have some kind of a ballpark, right? Twice a week,
Oh,
or
yeah.
even if it's not exactly every Tuesday or whatever. Um, but that does help because we create the flexibility that works for us, and then we create the regimen that works for us
Yeah.
individually.
And then, not to mention, my daughter sees my routine anyway. So it
Mm.
becomes a routine not only for me, but for her. And we have Life 360 so she can track me wherever I go anyway, right? So she's like, "Oh, you went to the gym today. Why'd you go to Walmart?" So it's like, I feel like I have an ankle around my bracelet. Like she knows, that ankle bracelet, like I'm being tracked everywhere. But I think she just, self care, you start to model it too with your children of how you eat. Like
Yeah.
we mainly drink water here. We don't drink sodas and things like that. So there you go. So that's good. We don't have a lot of that stuff in the house, and I don't. And I'm very happy that she drinks more water than anything. So it's kind of like a learned lesson at times,
Mm-hmm.
modeling the lesson in what you do and realizing the things that you do, being having the awareness to realize what am I doing, what is she seeing. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but there's so many things like that. Like my parents enjoyed, or I don't know, I think they did enjoy, but also they, by default, they would go walking. So walking is like just natural. Like I don't really think, oh, we have to walk all the way. That's not the first thought that
right.
comes to my mind. And that modeling, I don't think it was to teach me something. It was just a way of life.
I
And
think it's different because I think what I'm doing is I do look at it as modeling. I don't think my parents looked at it that way. I think they just did what they had to do. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like my dad worked, my mom stayed at home. She cooked, she cleaned, she did all those things. We weren't allowed in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Whereas my daughter at 17, she can cook a meal, 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, she
mm,
was much more advanced than I ever was at her age in doing some of those things on her own. So that self care in her own right is pretty impressive.
yeah, yeah. No, and then it's the same thing. Like how I talk, how I do things, because even when I'm in my classroom or I am with my nieces and nephews, they don't have a filter like adults. Oh, you did this. Oh, we don't say that word. Did you just say this? What did you mean? They're being open and curious, but they're always putting us in the present moment to consider how we show up.
Yeah, I will agree with that. That's a great place to be. Um, the other day before I gave a presentation, I was nervous and she came in being goofy and we started laughing and just being stupid for a few minutes. And it just calmed me down, it just brought me down. And I was so thankful for that. But to your point, what she did was she brought me to the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think then being in the present moment is so essential. So I think from where I'm getting to, from what I've done and what our conversation is that self-care more than anything is to remind us to be in the present moment even when it's not easy to be in the present moment. And so it's all this practice that goes into it. All the times when there is no trouble whatsoever, the coast is clear, and we're in our element, and we can do the things we like to do because then they serve in times when it's hard, when we don't feel in our element, and we need that resource.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, being present really, I mean, there's so many things that go along with self care. I think being authentic, being honest with yourself, there's so many things that go into self care. And I found too that sometimes it's hard to be aware of things all the time. Like you have to stay on top of things all the time, right? Case in point, I just went to a doctor's appointment and I'm well aware he was going to tell me my weight was up a little bit. It's like, why? Because I let my self care go because it's almost Easter and I love Cadbury mini eggs and I pop them like chocolate, like them, like they're pills. And I just like, you know, so it's even that it was like a little bit of awareness and now I had to rein myself back in and I had to get back on the program of how did I want to feel? How do I want to look? And more how I want to feel than how I want to look, truthfully,
Yeah.
you know. And once again, how do I want to role model that for my daughter?
But you just did that, and I think that's the beauty of uh, doing this, because what did we do with the time or the result or the outcome that was not in our favor or something that we didn't like? And how do we address it? How do we meet it? Sometimes we feel down in ourselves. And so when our kids are feeling down in themselves, we can pull out that experience to support them.
Yeah,
And I think that inner resourcefulness of I've gone in a direction that I would rather not. It doesn't make me feel good. How do I redirect myself? And no one else can do that for me. It's only me. And so we're also kicking in that whole aspect of independence where they're watching us to see how they'll do that for themselves. And it's not unusual. So now it's not like, I don't like what I feel. Mommy, fix it.
right.
You know?
I
Do
think it
you
comes
have.
back. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, sir, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I've been listening to things lately, and the whole adage of no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like be resilient, be self reliant. Um, don't know if that really factors into what we're talking about today, but it just kind of came to me.
No, I think it's really important. And I want to actually bring this to a close with that feeling of strength and resilience and clarity, because um, it doesn't mean we'll have to be isolated or independent, and which is what makes us feel selfish. It is that when we come into our own, we bring our whole self in to the present, and then we allow not only ourselves, but everybody else, including our kids, to bring their whole selves in. And but when we're not collected in ourselves, um, I think that's when we experience the stress in trying to be with each other because we're not there with ourselves.
Yeah, once you kind of settle that inner turmoil, and figure yourself out, and you can be calm and everything. I even found like sometimes calm is contagious. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
if you're like that one person at work who's not freaking out, everyone else is freaking out, And everyone's looking like, why is he so calm? Because we don't have to be freaking out, you know?
Yes, but hanging out with that person, it really makes a big difference. And so keeping that
Yeah, I
company
agree.
in yourself and around yourself. So this is definitely something to think about, parents and families and communities and all of you who are following us. We'd love to hear what you think of self care, what you do for your self care. Feel free to comment and reach out to us. Shawn here works with single dads. I work with families and creating communities. You can see our information below, and we're thrilled to continue offering this little chat and conversation. Take care.
Yes, we are here to support. Take care, everybody.
Bye.